Hold it. Hey, the name's Bradley. Jabari Bradley. Now, I know you may have a few questions like who are these children, why are they falling from the sky without parachutes, where are their parents, and maybe more. And if you weren't asking these questions, I bet you want the answers now. So, how about I go ahead and answer these questions you may or may not have asked while I have the time? You see, even though this story takes place in the present, it all starts not only a little over 100 years ago, it also starts in an alternate world on a planet called Onero. Meet Gideon. He's the kid in the middle. There isn't really much you need to know about him other than he had a happy life, his parents had stable jobs, he lived in a small village, and his dad was a sorcerer. Yep, that's right. Under that innocent yet menacing grin of his is a cloaked sorcerer who isn't afraid to destroy anyone who thinks they can mess with or harm his family. One night, while meditating and doing other sorcerer things, Gideon's father caught a glimpse of the future. He saw himself being caught by a child. This child would go on to tell the townspeople that a sorcerer was living among them. After trying to harm him and his family, Gideon's father had no choice but to destroy everyone in the village except his wife and child to protect them. Even though his intentions were good, in this timeline Gideon and his mother would still live on, fearing his father and the things he could do. To prevent his family from living in fear, Gideon's father decided to change the course of history. He would still eventually be caught by this child, as it was a point in time that is bound to happen regardless of what he does. But this time he was better prepared. The boy would go on to tell how there's a sorcerer in the village. As expected, this causes an outrage amongst the people and they sentence him to death immediately. Before being taken, however, Gideon receives a ring from his father that had been passed down for generations in their family. Desperately pushing through the crowd of people, Gideon tried his hardest to prevent his father's death. But in the end, he was too late. This causes Gideon to feel an overwhelming amount of emotions as his body begins to glow. Everyone watches as the sky turns green and the ground begins to rumble. Filled with rage, Gideon lets out a powerful scream that destroys everyone and everything around him. After a while, Gideon would be the only person left as everything around him was gone. He ran away to escape the sight of what he had done. Eventually, he would be encountered by a ferocious bear in the woods. Not knowing how to control his newfound abilities, Gideon not only accidentally opened a portal, but it led to a completely different world altogether. After escaping the bear, Gideon would fall to the ground as his ring began to glow. The veins in his body began to show as they also started glowing. He also let out one more scream as his body was destroyed due to his power being too much for his body to handle. But this isn't where Gideon's story ends. Instead of going to the afterlife, Gideon's soul goes directly inside of the ring. Why does it do this? Well, I can't tell you everything right now. Now fast forward to a little over 100 years in the future on planet Earth. Meet the married couple Isaiah and Miranda Bradley, my parents. These two loved going to science conventions and things of that nature to see all of the different inventions from what I've heard. Were they scientists themselves? No. Was there any specific reason as to why they liked going to these things? Also no. It was just something that piqued both of their interests. Where was I during this time? Well, this part of the story takes place about 2 months after I was born. I was being babysat by a family friend who also had babies of her own. Now these two lovebirds were on their way to a science convention going on in town. Big surprise. While they were looking around at all of the different inventions, there was only one in particular that caught their attention. A scientist by the name of Dr. Oliver Harlow had created a machine that could take a person from our world and physically put them into a place we refer to as the world of lucid dreams. While testing out the machine, it was doing good at first. That is, until the machine started malfunctioning and eventually blowing up, taking down the entire building with it. Now, even though a lot of lives were lost that day and a lot of people went missing due to the explosion, my parents miraculously survived. How did they survive an explosion that destroyed an entire building, you may ask? Well, it turns out the machine actually transported them to the alternate world. To keep this already long story short, my parents would eventually go on to discover that they had different powers while they were here. My dad was able to shoot and move as fast as lightning, while my mom was able to shoot fire from her hands. They were basically like heroes. Now, with every hero story, there has to be a villain, right? During their time in this alternate world, they would meet a villain who went by the name Omega. Omega was known for being a ruthless tyrant who had been terrorizing the galaxy for over a century. His power was too much for my parents, so the only thing they could do was seal him away. Temporarily, at least. They were successful, but they unfortunately died later due to severe injuries. The canister Omega was sealed in received a crack that would do nothing but get worse over time, eventually releasing him back into the world to cause destruction once again. And when that day comes, it'll be up to 3 warriors to put an end to his madness. Now here we are 14 more years later in the present, on planet Earth. The story of me and my friends doesn't really need much explaining. Me and my friends Adam and Evelyn went out of the house one summer night hoping to find something to do. While searching, we found something glowing down deep in a body of water. Adam, Evelyn's brother, went down to go see what it was since he was the only one who knew how to swim. Turns out, it was a mysterious ring glowing the whole time. After he grabbed it, a portal opened up above the water and pulled me and Eve towards it. After going through the portal, we ended up in another world and falling from the sky. Now that you're all caught up, I guess all I have left to say is enjoy the rest.
Wow.
Surrender quietly. And if you don't, we'll just have to force you to do so ourselves.
Just who the heck do you think you are?
We said quietly.
Oh no! Adam! What's going on?
I'll explain everything when this is over. Grab Jabari and get away from me.
Oh. Okay.
Picking on someone and able to defend themselves? It's because of people like you that make me sick to my stomach.
Whoa.
Up here! Now it's time to finish this. It's over.
Hello there. You must be Evelyn.
Yeah. Who are you? And how do you know my name?
As much as I'd love to explain everything now, I think it's best we find somewhere to stay for the night before it gets too late.
Stay can't possibly get any weirder. I stand corrected.
So far, I've been teleported to a different world, crashed into the ground, got knocked out by what I assume were robots, and now I'm floating in a bubble beside a green spirit child. Explain. I must admit, there are some things even I don't understand about the current state of my world. but I'll try to explain as much as I can to the best of my ability. You see, it all started when Adam found my ring earlier. The second he touched it, my soul took over his body, like a ghost possessing someone. For the first time in over 100 years, I finally had a body of my own, after mine was destroyed. But that feeling of excitement didn't last long, as Adam's strong will was able to break free from my control, which isn't an easy task. To make a long story short, Adam and I agreed that he could have control over his body and my power in exchange for finding some kind of way to get me a new body. As for the robots from earlier, I'm as clueless as you are on that one. There's just one last thing I need to know. Earlier, I noticed that my body started acting weird while me and Eve were falling. The people of my world have evolved on a level higher than those in yours. There's no reason as to why. It was just something that was discovered as they continue to evolve. As for why you have abilities of your own, well, I honestly don't have a clue. I think we should all stick together to find someone who can help us. You three go ahead. I'll catch up in a few minutes.
Are you sure? I don't think that's a good idea.
I'll be fine. You guys go ahead and find a way to get Gideon a new body.
If Omega ever comes back, I promise I'll make him pay for what he's done.
Who are they? They must be very important.
They're this world's saviors. They're also my parents. My name's Kalia, and I'm the city's current protector.